Today we are making cheesy crackers. Please preheat the oven to 350. You do not have to oil the baking sheet. You will need a food processor, which is better to use than a blender. I had to use a blender because I don't have a food processor and it takes a lot longer to use a blender. So a food processor is better. It'll chop up all the ingredients. You will need a knife to cut the crackers and a toothpick to make a hole in your crackers after you cut them and before they're baked. So the ingredients are 8 ounces of shredded cheese. I use cheddar. You can mix it if you want. 1 cup of flour, all-purpose, 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of ice water. This helps the dough stick together better. If you don't have to use as much water, it's better. Ice water is supposed to make them crunchy after they cool. You bake them 15 to 20 minutes until they're brown, depending upon your oven, and then you let them cool on the baking tray. Today's recipe is cheese crackers. You're going to need 8 ounces of cheese, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 4 tablespoons of butter. You're also going to need 1 teaspoon of salt and a little tiny bit of ice water, 2 tablespoons. And we're going to add the cheese, the flour, the salt, and the butter into the blender. Now we're going to mix it. The butter and the cheese should be room temperature. And we're going to mix it until it's fully mixed. With the food processor, because I had to keep on stopping the blender and using a spoon or a fork to stir to make sure it was all breaking down and mixing. So this is what we have, and this is before I added the ice water. So I'm going to add a little bit of ice water and hopefully it'll mix better. I added a little bit of water, about a tablespoon or 2 of ice water, just to make the whole dough stick together. Now I'm going to take the dough out and I'm going to put it on a piece of parchment and roll it out with the parchment on top. Onto parchment, and now I'm going to cover it with another piece of parchment. I'm going to start rolling this out till it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Dough rolled out about 1/8 of an inch thick. I just dyed it. So now we're going to cut the dough into 1 by 1 inch squares. And the best way to do that would be to use a ruler and mark them and then cut them. So we're going to do that now. Using a ruler that I washed first with soap and water, I laid it on the dough, and if you can see, I marked every inch down, and then I marked every inch across. And now I'm going to get a pizza cutter, and I'm going to go ahead and cut. All my cheese crackers cut into 1 inch squares. I'm going to very carefully shift them over to a cookie sheet, making sure that I leave spaces between each one. So I finished laying them out on the cookie sheet. I did actually set the oven to 350. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a toothpick and I'm going to put a hole through the middle of each one. I set the timer for 15 minutes. They might need a couple more minutes. You just don't want them to get too brown in the oven. But they smell and look amazing. So the timer just went off. Let's check. These are my little scrappy pieces. And they're a little brown. I think they're perfect. Oh, these look so good. I'm gonna take these out too. All right, these have to rest for a time so that they can cool off, and then we'll try them. They needed the full 20 minutes in the oven. You can see they're browned on top. We're gonna let them sit and cool off, but they are nice and crispy and toasty. And they taste great. Also, you do not have to butter the pan because there's enough butter in the cracker. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. They are really good, and yeah, try it.